Hello, welcome back everyone. Welcome back. Special surprise day. Not really actually, but hey, yeah, kind of. We're doing another Heroscape ranking. This time Wave 6. Wave 6. Dawn of Darkness. Speaking of darkness, it's so dark I decided not to change my war clothes. I got some black going on, so to fit in with the theme. One of my favorite sets, I have to say, in terms of, if nothing else, the designs. Great designs here, lots of good lore, I like it a lot. Definitely not my favorite set. My favorite set, I'll mention it when I get to it. It is actually kind of by far my favorite set. Really love that set. But a really good set nonetheless. And yeah, this is quite a good one, and I really liked it as a kid, or as I was younger, and now I can go ahead and read it. So, let's go ahead. Why not? Sorry, I got distracted there a little bit. So, Eldgrim. We're not going off to that strong of a start here. I'm going to go with the C. You know what? Would this be the first D? I'm gonna leave him here for now. I am not a fan of Eldgrim. I almost feel like he's kind of a throwaway design. Like, oh, okay, we did the plus attack, we did the plus defense. Oh, we forgot the plus movement. Let's just throw him in here somewhere. The design himself, in terms of the way he looks, is okay. A little lackluster. He's a medium force, so kind of small. Almost like a dwarf, which we didn't get dwarves for a while, so that was kind of interesting. But despite the fact that they were overdue, this is not a dwarf. This is a Viking. So pretty lackluster. I thought they could have done a whole lot more with him. I'm really kind of again debating between the C and the D tiers. Not that I dislike Eldgrim. I think it's decent figure. I just think there was so much more potential that they could have done with this figure. Maybe have like an aura or something as well. Starting space, like a rally cry or something, and charging, and then have himself, not necessarily like first engagements like Valgard, I think his name is. Don't have that figure. But something along the lines where movement plays a lot of key role in terms of strategy and all that. But again, I think pretty lazy here, so I think the potential's there. But overall, a very weak character. Obviously, 30 points? 2 attack, 2 life. You're not gonna really be doing much of anything. Not that meta, I would say, at all. Wouldn't really consider filling him up with an army with him, especially when you could do something like Ismu or whatever. So I'll put him in C. I might move him down to D, but I don't know. I really feel kind of like it. Empress Kiova. Okay, Empress Kiova is another one of those where we're not starting off that strong here, actually. Empress Kiova has a lot more potential, right? I think Empress Kiova is one of those where, yeah, I like the design. I think there could have been a little bit more detail, especially maybe in the head region. But I like the departure. Again, I like, how they're just very creative, they being Heroscape. Very creative with the designs. You can tell it's a Kiri, but it's Enyar, so you can immediately look on the battlefield and tell, okay, that one's an Utgar Kiri, that one's a Jandar Kiri, that one's, in this case, an Enyar Kiri, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. That I like. Very, keeping in the design aesthetic with the Kiri, but paving its own way, which I really like. But the abilities what really brings her down. It just, and I mentioned this I think with Konkin and a few others. It's just so specific, and in this case it's even more specific than that Knight's ability, Knights and Sentinels. This one is only Kiri who follow Enyar, and that's a huge missed opportunity. It's like there's only one squad in the base game, which is one we'll get to, the Enyar Imperiums. There's no one else, so it's like you have to basically use that, and that's what I don't like about this Kiri, Empress Kiova, because the others like Raylan, you can be very general and have anyone in your aura. Same thing with Taylord, Sayland, whatever. And I wish Kiova maybe have something Inyar specific, okay? You know, something royal, like, okay, you know, maybe they choose one die to reroll, and it's all Inyar, you know, one defense die, excuse me, to reroll, and then maybe if it's a, you know, Kiri that follows Inyar, then they reroll all defense die, you know, so it's something like that. It just, there's a huge missed opportunity. Not very good for the points again because it's just so specific. It's so specific, and a huge missed opportunity. I think there could have been a lot more synergy there, but even still, I like Kiri, and I think Empress Gilbert is a pretty good design, but lose a lot of potential there. I think if she even had that ability, which would affect all inner units, she would probably be a low A for me. Heavy Gruts. I'm gonna put them here. They're pretty good. But they're actually starting to get, you know, a little bit better. We got the before the Blade Gruts, which were kind of pushovers. Now we got the Heavy Gruts, which are not so much pushovers. You know, they got more or less similar abilities, but they're beefier. Now, of course, obviously, if you're doing the more meta, you know, more points, and you know, that's the thing with multiple common squads. They're not necessarily as good of a choice, or not necessarily a better choice right off the bat. But they've gotten some more heft to them, noticeable heft, and it's actually more of a squad that's like, okay, this is the medium kind of average frontliner squad, and so I like the designs as well. You know, more or less similar to the Blade Gruts, but then of course got the, you know, heavier armor. Who would have thunk it? So, okay, now we go to this one. Oh, my sister loves this one. Okay, so Cayman Awa, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. He's like a major Q 9, whichever one's in Storm of Tomorrow. Gee whiz. In terms of his versatility, of not as much versatility, but similar versatility. This guy's really good. He's worth it for the points. He's one of, in my opinion, one of the best out there. And he consistently pulls his weight. Time and time again. Again, he's got the pretty high range and pretty decent attack, especially for a ranged figure. So he's going to be dealing out the damage, but he's really going to be helping out your team with that special ability, with, like, I think it's quick release special attack is what it's called, for taking out those squads. Because it's not a light attack. It's not 3 attack. It's 4 attack twice. That's pretty hefty. That's a really thick ass arrow to the face. And that will take out, you know, squads pretty quickly for the most part, unless you're dealing with some pretty beefy squads. And of course, you got the counter strike, which with his defense, and of course he has the range, so you're probably not going to get up to him. It's better than nothing, but you're not really going to be using it. It's just kind of as a last-ditch effort to, you know, make smaller melee guys who are trying to take him down think twice, maybe. And of course, you know, if a better attacker gets a bad roll, then you can take advantage of that. But generally speaking, not quite as useful as the other samurai. But very good figure. I like the design. I like that he's fully armored, that, you know, you can immediately look on the battlefield and recognize this guy. And very good as well, very meta. So high up there in the list. Kimoshi. I think this is my favorite figure from this set. Now, I will say, in terms of what I call the Mind Shackler, I still think Nioxa from Master Set 1 would still be considered the Mind Shackler, because he's more kind of geared towards the Mind Shackling, even though it is twice as likely for Kimoshi to Mind Shackle someone, at least in terms of the 20-sided die roll, initiative die. He just is so much beefier, so he's probably going to take a lot more opportunities to do it. One, he has one more life. Okay, you know, that's not a whole lot more, but that's okay. And then 2, he has 2 more defense. That's pretty substantial. Her defense is 4. You know, that's about average, a little bit slightly above average. I would say, yeah, 3.5 defense. You can't put that on the card, but 3.5 defense is around average-ish or so for a hero. He's got 6. That's pretty good. And then 3, he has less attack and less special attacks that do it damage. Why is that a good thing? Well, it's because guys are more likely to ignore him, right? You know, he walks up to him, he's like, you're not going to die quickly against this 3 attack. Kimoshi, she has more attack. She has 4 attack, okay? And she has toxic skin. So even if she doesn't mind shackle you, unless you're a Soulborg, even if you are a Soulborg, because that's 4 attack, there's some chance she's going to be doing some decent damage if you ignore her. And plus you have the mind shackle, so you want to get rid of her as quickly as possible. So that 4 life and 4 defense, you know, is going to be kind of, let's get rid of her, lest she, you know, take someone and completely turn them around. So she, I would say, is pretty good overall, but not necessarily as 100% focused and geared towards the mind shackling as a potential, Negox, I think, generally speaking. Now, that being said, I really, really like the design. If there were a little bit more detail here in this figure, I probably would put it in the S tier. I really, really like this design, the kind of war witch idea. Very creepy, scary, kind of horror-esque. I love horror movies. But at the same time, still in keeping with the Morrow design. And again, Morrows, I guess, kind of are, according to the thing, a little bit more horror-esque, but I guess I don't come across that way in the figures because the figures aren't super detailed, but there is kind of that element. So really, really cool. Runa, we're getting strong here, we're staying strong. I'm going to put Runa here in the A tier, kind of similar to Taylor. I really like Runa. Just the design is really nice, very arrow-like, very straight, kind of think about obviously it's the Lothar movies, the design of like the towers and Sauron and all that good stuff. But the blacks, the reds, and then some of the whites. You can't really tell what's going on in there. Some of these as much as like Taylor, but it's like, wait, what? But pretty cool. Interesting ability. I really don't know what to say about this ability because it is very much of a kind of a, you just roll and hope that no one's around you who's friendly and then gets it, as opposed to enemies, because you don't have to roll, but when you do roll, you have to roll for everyone. So I think it's worked a few times with me, but it's rare. It's one of those things you can't count on, right? So I really like the design. I like the cure. I don't like that this one in particular doesn't really have any, what was I gonna say? Any, kind of like synergy. It would be interesting because the Helm of Mitten Soul affects everyone, and you kind of want to be as many, maximize and have as many enemies around you as possible, that you probably, there would be, it's kind of like a loneliness to this cure. Maybe this cure is kind of like a lone fighter, so it'd be interesting if there were like some sort of ability that would be like, you get +1 defense and attack if you have no one in your aura or something, or opposite even, like if you have friends or friendly units that are like outside 20 spaces or whatever, or don't have clear line of sight even. I'm just throwing random ideas out there off the top of my head. And if you think about this, then they get, +1 attack or something like that, lone rage or something. Or maybe if your other friendly units who don't have anyone of friendly in their sights, they get transferred power, so they get +1 attack. I'm just thinking of these random things. I don't know what made me think of all these things all of a sudden, but I kind of like the idea of kind of like you should be kind of as lonely as possible and out there. And we've had several battles where it's like you have the whole army and you have the Martin Hounds out in front because they're going to plague everyone, and then you have Kimoshi like a little circle around her. No one wants to get closer, besides Solbergs, of course. And then you have Runa all the way over there. So it's kind of interesting theory to play with, but they could have done more, but it's still pretty good. So we're still continuing strong here. Ghosts, come on, it's so classic. Ghouls, ghosts, shades. I'm gonna put them here. They're really, I really like the design. Obviously, again, I just said I like horror, and we're just going right at it again, hammering this theme home, Dawn of Darkness. However, and there is a big ass however, capitalized, underlined, bolded, and italicized. Their ability. The stealth flank's really good. Obviously, they have 7 movements. Stealth flank, they're really going to be moving around fast. Their ability, you have to roll before moving. I don't think they have ever successfully soul devoured in all the times I've played with them, or playing with others. Once, maybe. I think maybe once. The thing about this move is it's kind of similar to what I was saying about Kimoshi, right? You don't want your figures to go down, to be taken over by the opponents. But with 4 defense and 1 life, you're not going to be doing. You have to move there and then you can't do anything. You move adjacent to the opponent, and then you don't do anything, right? If the opponent doesn't think, the opposing figure doesn't think that they can, kill the Shade, just move away. Maybe you'll take 1 damage, maybe you won't. Again, it depends on the situation, but generally speaking, just move away. Unless you're surrounded by ghosts, there's all 3 of them, then that might hurt while disengaging. But, even so, most heroes that are worth soul devouring, they're probably going to be able to kill you. Again, unless you're swarming, then it's not the best idea. But the thing is, it's not very likely they're going to soul devour. So I really think, and I know I'm going to get some flack for this, I've gotten some flack for this before, I think it should be after moving. That would make these guys dangerous. Potentially, right? It's still a 19 through 20. That's still extremely rare. But it would make it a lot more dangerous. It makes more sense, right? They're extreme speed, they're ghosts, they go right into. But as of now, they're a complete worthless joke. They're completely worthless because they have 2 attack. They're not going to be doing anything. They go up to someone, maybe they'll have high advantage again because of their flying. Yeah, advantageous position. What, they have 3 attack now? That's average again. That's like, going for these guys, the heavy grunts. It's like, okay, you have 3 attack now. What do you do? But after before moving, it's like, again, if you're trying to soul devour any hero that's worth soul devouring, they probably have at least decent high attack. They're probably going to kill you, unless again you're swarming. So big disappointment with them. They are, in my opinion, completely worthless with this with that main verbiage before moving. At least again, in my experience, other people may have had different experiences, but they're completely not meta because of that. If they were just the wording were changed a little bit, then they would have almost a complete about face. Again, I don't think it's too overpowered because it's a 19 through 20. It's extremely unlikely anyway, and it's not like Mind Shackle because you lose the figure, right? You can't infinitely soul devour. You can only soul devour most 3 times. So anyway. There's that. Okay, so okay, the Samurai Archers. I'm not a big fan of them. They're okay. Nice to at least kind of have some variance there in terms of the faction. To have some ranged guys. Nothing really too much to say about them. They got the counter strike, but again with that low defense, not that great. Kind of like him and Awa, where it's more of kind of a last-ditch effort thing. It's not really a game changer or anything like other samurai who have more defense. So it's okay. So they're kind of lackluster with where they are. So I'll put them in the B tier. These guys, I'm gonna put them in the high B tier. I almost kind of, let me put them in the low A tier. I like the design a lot. I like the kind of masks and the design of them. The thing about them is they have double attack, which is cool. They are very, very pricey though. In fact, I think they are the most expensive squad in the base game. Again, I don't remember with Black Mode Siege what all those guys are worth. But are they worth it? No, they're not. The double attack kind of helps, so they can take on multiple squads. And the stealth flying is nice, but they have such not such low, but pretty low movement. So the flying helps, but they're not going to be getting necessarily the most advantageous positions anytime super soon. And then their synergy again is just so lackluster. The thing is you have Empress Kiova. If you choose her with them, then okay, it's better. But does it still justify that price tag? Probably not. Probably not. You're only have 3 defense. You're probably many times going to be falling to ranged figures. With the other Kiri squads, the ones I'm thinking of course are the Sentinels of Jandar and Minions of Ukar. They can defend themselves, right? From ranged attacks. These guys can't really as well. They're normal, I would say. And the 3 defense, that's normal for a squad. So it's normal defense. It's nothing special, but they're 130 points for a squad is very special. Okay, it's the most as far as I can remember. So they are lackluster for how much they're worth. Well, continuing the horror theme. Let's go right here. In front of him, please. Again, got a strong showing here. Nothing really super much. If Kimoshi were a little bit better, more detailed, I would probably put her in the S tier. Gotta love zombies, right? Gotta love zombies. Zombies of Moradin, I think they're called. Very recent set for me, so I haven't really been able to experiment too much with them, but they are pretty good with the, with their abilities and be able to outnumber, outflank, and overwhelm. Especially the Zombie Rise Again, and then the Zombie Special Attack. You've got to have multiples of these. I'd say at least 3. I actually got them out of the package, so I only have 1 squad, so completely worthless, more or less. I'm gonna have to get more of these, guys, and then experiment with them. Love the hitbox thing, of course. A nice callback to classic zombie. You have to kill them with a headshot sort of thing. And then again, horror stuff. So keeping it strong, and I like the designs. I like their abilities, which complement them. They're very slow moving. They don't attack well individually, but then they can attack very well as a horde, and they can also move independently, and quite a few of them at one time. And then you have the Zombie Rise Again, which can create more zombies, unless of course they're already undead. So really like their abilities. I think they're really cool. Definitely need to again invest in a few more of these guys. The only negative thing I would say about this is, and this is kind of applicable to the whole set now, taking a step back, is that they did 2 zombies in 1 pack, which makes sense again because you really want a lot of zombies. I think again you have to have at least 3 to make these guys really shine in their full potential. 2, I think you're 2 packs to, or actually not 2 packs, 2 iterations, 2 squads of them. You're doing yourself a little bit of a disservice, but we can buy more, or at least we could have, in theory. And if they had come out with a separate, common squad to go with the zombies, like they usually do, this is I think the only set that they came out double of in the same pack. This set would be really high. It's already really high, but it'd be even higher. Or maybe not. I've never really done an official ranking of the sets. Maybe it would just be, instead of a distant number 2, it would be just a not so distant number 2. I don't know. Anyway, there you have it. Dawn of Darkness. Really like the set. Just a little small, chink in the armor right there with the weakness and some, missed opportunities, I think, in terms of, the thematic of what they're trying to get across and who this character is and represents, and the possibilities. But really, really great set. Again, I really like horror. Probably got some bias here, maybe a lot of bias. But yeah, really good set. So hope you guys enjoyed it. This is again Heroscape Small Wave 6 Dawn of Darkness, and I will catch you in the next one.